Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. We continue with the book of Rabbi Isaac Ginsberg on the mystery of marriage, ending chapter 6 with pure communication. The last weeks we were talking about the different steps in communicating with our spouse that are needed to have a good marriage and to show kindness one to the other. To give you a recap of these stages, the first one is words of love, how we should always express ourselves with love and with kind words. Then we went to words of rebuke, when we need to say something, how to say it without hurting someone else. Then the third one was words of praise and admiration, how important it is to encourage our spouse and to show them we respect them and we look up to them. Then the fourth was words of control and direction, when we need to give an order, when we need something from somebody, how to ask so it doesn't feel like we're giving orders but we're asking for help. And the fifth one is words of gratitude, and how important it is to show our gratitude towards the other person and don't feel like a sense of entitlement that this is the way it should be, but to really be able to count our blessings and see the good in the other person and everything they do for us. So here Rabbi Ginsberg is telling us that the aim of rectifying one's speech in accordance with the 5 categories that I just listed is to apply it to the couple's common life together. So this way of communication should be applied for our common life together. And what he means by that is that it's very important that a couple have time in the day to sit together and talk about the day, and the husband tell the wife what's going on in the office and how's his work going, and she can tell him about her day. And this opens up a door to being able to live the other person's life too. Like you're really bonding and you're really feeling for the other, and that the other person feels that you care. And this should bring them closer together rather than make them feel as though they live in different worlds. Because when a husband and a wife don't talk about their lives outside of the home, it feels like they have two lives. One is outside of the home and the other one is in the home. And we really need to make it feel in our life together that even if we're outside of the home, that person is with you too. So also he says that it's very important that a couple is sharing their goals, their dreams, that they share what they want for their children, what type of education they want for their children, how to run the home, what is their values, what are their priorities. In money matters, they should be in the same page. And it's very important that the couple is constantly talking about the day-to-day life. By discussing and sharing these aspects of their lives, a couple progresses from talking about to talking with each other. And the actual act of conversation becomes a binding agent in itself, in addition to a way to initiate or conduct some other activity. Sharing thoughts and feelings in some ways an even more profound expression of love than saying I love you. So when a couple is sharing their life together by communicating, it's a greater love than just saying it. It's nice to hear it, but we have to show it. And he says here that God's supernal wisdom, we find that the patriarchs used to discuss with their wives their issues. They used to tell them and ask them for counsel. And we see here that also the Jewish law, the Shulchan Aruch, the Halacha, commands a husband to sit and have dinner with his wife or a meal with his wife. It's very important that they spend time together. I find that in the United States especially, like that meal time has been lost. Like people are so much in the run that they don't have time to sit down and have a meal together. It's very sad, but every person has a different schedule. The husband comes very late at the home. The wife is already hungry. She ate with the kids. He eats alone. That's not healthy. Like a couple should really make it a point that mealtime is mealtime for everybody. And they say that a family that eats together sticks together. And it's true, because the mealtime is a time to share. Husband with the wife, and later on with the kids. It's a time to share. So it's very important that that this is kept. And also he says that the couple should not let conversation become an end in itself. This is counterproductive. So a couple should not be talking about idle things like stupidity. Like they should not sit and talk about a person, because it's gonna end up not in a good place. They're gonna end up doing gossip, and they're gonna be telling tales about somebody else, and they're gonna end up doing lashon hara, which is a very big prohibition of the Torah. So when a couple is speaking, they should be speaking about relevant things. They should be speaking about their lives. They should be speaking about important things for them. If they have to discuss a certain thing that happened with somebody, they discuss it, they advise each other on how to proceed with that person, but not in a way to minimize the other person and finish them off, but to help them know how to get over it and do what they have to do. So we have to be very careful in our speech. Also, we see that when a couple has not rectified their speech, they don't know how to communicate with each other. In the Torah, we see it by example with Adam and Eve. Hashem said to Adam, you can eat from any tree in this garden except that tree in the middle of the garden, which was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But he never said you cannot touch it. And the only thing he said to Eve is you cannot touch the tree. So he didn't tell her correctly what God wanted from them. And by not saying it in the right way, the snake came, the cunning snake came, the slimy cunning snake, and the snake enticed Eve and made her touch the tree and show her that nothing was going to happen to her. And then she ate from the tree, from the fruit, and gave it to Adam as well. So from here, from this example, we can see that that it's very important to communicate and to talk what we feel, what we think, what we want. Many couples have suffer because the other one is not being sincere with them, is not being honest with them, or is not telling them things. And sometimes the imagination can run wild, and you can even start imagining things that are not even real. So it's very important that the couple talks to each other. Also, we finish off here this chapter that's telling us that the most profound type of conversation a couple can share, of course, is the Torah. So Rabbi Isaac Ginsburg is really making a point that it's very important that a couple has also not only the mundane things to talk about, but also the spiritual aspect in their lives. And it's important to have something they learn together. It can be Pirkei Avot, Humash, it can be Halacha. There's so many different things they can learn together. Take a book and sit together and learn for 5-10 minutes. That's really a very big connector in a marriage, because it's in a higher level. It's not only a physical thing, it becomes a spiritual endeavor. And also Hashem is going to be part of this. And it creates a very strong bond between the couple. And it's interesting because the word Havruta, which is used with a learning partner, comes from the word Haver, which means friend. As will be explained in chapter 8, husband and wife are intended to be each other's friend. So a husband and a wife, apart from having a loving relationship, should also be friends. I remember many years ago I heard a psychologist, she was saying that they did a test of couples. They had 3 groups. One was getting divorced. The other ones wanted to get divorced, but they couldn't. And the third one wanted to get divorced, but they didn't want to. like it's a paradox. And they asked this third group what made them not want to get divorced, like they couldn't even get along, they were desperate. And the answer was, no, how am I gonna not live with my best friend? So if a couple is able to come to a point where they're like best friends, then this is really the formula for success in a lasting, loving marriage. And so here we see how important it is to speak words of wisdom and to speak in a right way, in a beautiful way. And we see also that during the week we were always separating things. We're putting the work here, the mundane here, but in Shabbat it's about unions. And in the communication we see that too. We have to separate everything that is not good for us, that will bring the separation between a couple. But we have to live in Malchut, like in kingship, and where we live in a way where everything we do is trying to put things together. So a husband and a wife should be connectors. They should be always trying to connect to each other. And in this way, they will have Shalom Bayit. So I leave you here, and I wish you a beautiful week, and remember, live a little higher. Thank you.